Good morning, sunshines. Hope you're doing well. All right, the first thing we're going to do is turn in project number 5. Again, we talked about the difference, the color chart last time. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. So some sort of chart that shows that transmutation between Roy G. Biv. Again, if you want to just copy and paste it, that's fine. Again, answer to question number 2. Ask about the subtractive lighting. Again, when you take a lighting instrument, the lamp is putting out all the rays of light that it can. When you add a filter in front of that, the filter is going to absorb all the other colors. So for instance, the example I'm giving you here is sort of a pinkish light. So the filter will absorb everything that's not pink, but it will allow the lights that are in the pink range to filter through. So that is called subtractive lighting. You're taking away all the other colors except for the colors that I'm going to say are the red, pink range, yes? And those allow, the filter allows those colors to go through. When you're looking at, in a week or so, I'll give you a set of colors and it'll have a transmission rate. So for instance, it'll say, my guess is that's about a 36 pink, and it's going to have a transmission rate of 42%. That means 42% of the light that's being created by the lamp is being allowed to go through the filter. Yes. The lamp itself creates very little blue, so dark blues can get down to 2% transmission. Yes. And so if you think about it, if you've got a 1,000-watt lamp and you're only allowing 2% through, that will also affect the brightness of the instrument, which is why when you're doing dark blues, you may need to add additional lamps, additional instruments to get a really dark blue look. Unless you're using LEDs, LEDs are great with dark blue. All right, the third part of the third question of project 5 tells you to, or asks you to list the advantages and disadvantages of gels, of filters, and a mylar. Yes, gels. The original filters were made out of gelatin. Yes, and one of the great advantages is it was very cheap. Literally gelatin. The nice thing about gelatin is it doesn't fade. It is that color. Yes, so all you did was have a little sheet that would just lay it out very thin. You peel it up, you'd have a piece. The problem is that if it ever got moist, especially in Alabama where it's high humidity, it dissolved. Yes, over time they dissolve very quickly. Now, if you're trying to create a multicolored filter, the nice thing is if you just lick it very lightly on the edge, you can piece it together very nicely if you're creating a stained glass window, and it will create a single gel that doesn't have to worry about little tape lines and the heat getting to it. It's going to be a piece. So there are some advantages and disadvantages of gelatin. It does smell when it melts. It's dying gelatin. So the plastic ones, again, they are moderately priced. A good piece of plastic gel, it's called Roscoline. Roscoline is going to cost you about $3 for a 3x2 sheet. It is sturdy but crinkly. If you fold it, it will keep the fold. It does come in a variety of colors, but it does, especially the intense colors, the blues and the greens, fade really quick. You're going to get hot spots and burn marks very quickly. And so the best one I would suggest, not that much more expensive, is the Rosco Lux, which is made out of the mylar, the clear mylar. It's extremely durable. It's very hard to mar it. It comes in a wide variety of colors. It is the highest price. It's going to cost about $5 a sheet versus $3 for the plastic, versus $2 for the gelatin. It does fade over long periods of time as opposed to the gel, which is going to stay the same color. But the time, you can easily do a show per piece. Yes, I mean, I'm talking, not a Broadway show, 5 years, but you got a 3-week run of a show, your mylar, your Rosco Lux is going to hold up for that. And then that way, when you're doing your next show and you change your gels, your filters, that's the time to change those. Cool, so that's the answers to questions on project 5. Go ahead and correct your answers or finish your answers, or if you've already sent it to me, thanks. Get that to me as soon as possible. Cool. All right, now we're going to talk about your analysis of Death of a Salesman. Now, first of all, it's your analysis. So I've made several suggestions already as to things you might consider. So for instance, one of the things, if there's a refrigerator on stage, how do I know? Because I'm going to make you use the set design we're going to use. If you want to put a light in the refrigerator, it's up to you. Would I put a light in the refrigerator? Yeah. Do you have to? Am I going to count it wrong if you don't? No. But you should at least consider the option of putting a light in the refrigerator so that when it opens, it has the light on. Do you need to put a candle at the restaurant when they go into the steakhouse? No. Would it be nice to have the ambient light? Sure. So again, it's one of those things where do you need to have the blinking vacancy sign in the hotel? No. But if you come up with a better choice, yes, by all means use it. But just come up with your list of things you think during the course of the play that you can add to it. If it's a little lamp in the bedroom, if it's a lamp upstairs in the boys' room, if it's some sort of exterior light on the outside of the house for a night light, great, yes. But those are your choices, it's your design. So a lot of these answers are going to be up to you as how you read the play. First of all, I'm going to talk to you about a play in general. There are usually 4 parts to a play. There's the beginning of the play, which is called the exposition. In the exposition, you find out who's who and what's what and who's Willie and who's his sons and who's Linda and all that sort of stuff. Sometimes if it's a mystery, the exposition could take 3/4 of the play. If you've ever seen Sixth Sense, the movie Sixth Sense, it isn't until she drops her wedding ring, which is about an hour and a half in the film, that you actually realize what's going on. Yes, I'm not trying to ruin it for you, but if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. So the exposition can be a very short period of time, it can be a very long period of time. As a lighting designer, as an actor, I always tell my actors as a director, speak a little louder, be a little clearer, be a little brighter. That way the audience can relax, can say, I can see everyone, I can hear everyone, I trust that everyone is going to do their job, and they stop trying to find fault. They just let the play sort of take over. If things are a little bit too dim, or if the actor stutters or slurs or it's hard to understand, the audience will start focusing on the fact that they can't see or hear more than they will the storyline. So just the exposition is an important part of the play, A, because you learn what's going on in the play, but B, you want to make sure that everything is particularly bright, particularly coherent, yes? That you may slow things down just a hair in order to make sure the audience understands exactly what's going on, because once they understand it, they're along for the ride. Cool? The next part, at the transition from the exposition to the rising action is called the point of attack. Yes? The point of attack is the point in the play where you figure out what the problem is. Yes? What are we trying to solve? What are we fighting? Yes? I'm going to say in this play, very early on, Willie and his suicidal tendency becomes that point of interest. We're going to obviously talk about a man who's down on his luck. We're going to talk about a man who has suicidal tendencies. Is he going to commit suicide? Well, it's called Death of Salesman. You've already ruined it. Probably going to die, yes? Just based on the title. So there's not a lot of mystery to it. But how it happens? Does he commit suicide? Does he accidentally fall? Does he accidentally have a car wreck? What is the conflict between his children? Yes? Where does it arise? What is the problem? How does it come about? Yes? So that leads to the rising action. If you're interested in that sort of stuff, if you're interested in family relationship, if you're interested in the American dream, this play may have something to say to you. If you're somebody who could care less about any of those things, it might be a long evening. Yes? But I can't tell you the number of people who I have seen who've gone through this play or this movie who have had life-changing experiences, because one of the things that it does is it makes you aware that at the end of the day, there isn't a golden rainbow. You know, you just work your life away, and it is your wife and your 2 sons and your next door neighbor standing at your funeral, right? It can be very eye-opening in that sense. You know, you need to live your life. And the American dream isn't necessarily what you think it is. One of the things about Willie, he's got a very loving family. I mean, the way I read it, again, I don't know how you read it, but the way I read it, Biff and Happy both are very much in love with their dad. They would do anything to impress their father. Yes, now, is he perfect? No. Or are the kids perfect? No, not in any way. I think Linda is an angel with his family. But I think he has a very loving family, and I would say for most people that would be a success. But Willie defines success differently. He defines success financially, I would say, more than anything. Yes, the fact that he's got, well respected in the community as a salesman adds more merit to him. I mean, the fact that Biff is $1 an hour working on some farm out in Iowa does not impress him. Whereas, Biff seems to be happy. Yes, and happy is always happy, of course. Anyway, so that's the rising action. The climax, the reversal is where you have the conflict resolved, typically. Again, I'm going to say the climactic moment in this play is at the end of the scene before the finale, where they go to the funeral, where Willie goes off and kills himself. Yes, that's the point at which he decides that it's worth his life to give his son money to start with, or at least he thinks that's what he's doing. What he's really doing is breaking his heart. And then the conclusion, the falling action, again in this play, because the climax I think is at the end, the falling action would be the burial scene and the conclusion. Yes, so those are four, but that's the parts of this particular play, but they're all parts of any play. There's always the exposition, the rising action, the climax, and the falling action. Where you get in trouble is where the director might assume the climax is at one point, and the set is designed around the climax at another point, and the costumes might be designed around the climax at another point, and everybody's on a different page. And suddenly you have the costumes being fantastic at one point, the set being fantastic at another point, and the climactic moment happens in dull light down left where nobody's looking, right? So you have to work together to coordinate the design elements so that everything is working together, so the climactic moment is also the climactic moment, set-wise, lighting-wise, costume-wise, sound-wise, yes? So that's when things work best. All right, ways to analyze a script. The structure, acts and scenes, a very easy way to do it. Characters, you do a character scene breakdown where you have a list of the characters and what scene they're in. That's a very nice, easy way to break down the script. Themes, go through and just figure out, different things they talk about on a recurring level. They talk about cars a lot. There's a lot of themes of cars in this play, for instance. There's themes of burglary. Yes, a lot of people, they'll talk about stealing little, not big thefts, but little bitty lies, little bitty cheats. Yes, little bitty things like that. Hose, not necessarily pantyhose because it wouldn't be style period-wise, but hose are a big thing in this script. The themes lead into symbols. Which of these things takes on the level of a symbol? Yes, I think the hose, for instance, is important for the act because Willie has given his wife's hose to his mistress, but that's an important plot point. I don't know that they become symbolic of anything. I think the car can become symbolic. Yes, his love of his car, that's what he drives in, that's where he comes from. That can be a little bit more important. Now, how does that affect itself? Well, maybe it doesn't. But finding ways that it can involve your imagination can lead to answers for the design, for the concept of the play. Yes. Now, again, in this instance, the set is going to be given to you, the ground plan is going to be given to you. But in a normal situation, bringing research in on those sort of things and deciding what the symbols are can lead to choices. So, for instance, what was that play where you were a bear a couple of years ago, Helvetica? Yeah. One of the images that was very strong in that was ship imagery. And so the set literally became a small ship. Yes? Now, did it say it anywhere in the play? No. But it was just the images were so strong with being on the sea and sailing and all that sort of stuff that became the driving force for the design element that was the set. Cool? It's a way to get ideas. What are the moods? Are we happy? Are we sad? Again, I would say overall, does the salesman, when you start with the title like death. But there are some happy scenes. When they go off, play football, they're happy. Yes, so there should be a different look there, right? I think when Ben is around, I think Willie is, he's idolized Ben. And so Ben, could have a different light that is more idolized, whatever light that is. Given circumstances we talked about before, but that's just normal, everyday, daytime, nighttime motivation, that sort of stuff. And again, the style. We're going to talk about a couple different styles. I've given you a picture here of an impressionistic version of the play, again, just little sketches. The impressionistic version is the walls are open. You can see that there's some apartments in the background, but there's a real dining room table, there's a real door, there's a real refrigerator. Nothing is altered in shape. It is all see-through, and there's an upstairs where the bunk beds are and all that sort of stuff. But nothing has changed. That's what I'm gonna call impressionistic. Now, the version that we're going to use is actually the version we used when we did it here around 2004. Is I'm going to call it a little bit more expressionistic. And again, there are elements of it that are just as impressionistic as the first one, where you have the dining room table and the refrigerator, that sort of stuff, and you have the beds and the upstairs with the boys. But then the buildings are leaning in. The towers, again, the bricks and windows things are leaning in, and that's not the way you build, except unless you're in Pisa, I guess. But buildings don't really lean in. But again, that is Willie's psychological reaction to the buildings. And so they are distorted. So I'm going to say that is enough to make the expressionistic element of this play. The buildings are having an impact on Willie's psychology. The third little drawing here is what I'm going to call surrealistic. Obviously, there's nothing on the floor. There's no level. But there are things like the car. We talked about the symbolism of the car. Yes, the house is a symbol. Up in the air. I'm going to say the squares or the rectangles. To me, again, that's the thing about surrealism. It all depends on what you think it looks like. But it seems to me that just like you would have photos of your life in the hallways and that sort of stuff, that these are little vignettes of his life that you're going to see. And so I'm going to say that's a surrealistic version of this exact same play. I have seen a version that I would call naturalism, where there was a car, it was a small little studio theater covered in asphalt, so it has a certain smell to it. But it had real lines on the road, and then there was a car that upstage left. There was a telephone pole that had been smacked by this car that was steaming when you walked in. And in that case, the whole play, not just the parts in the play that are dreams, but the whole play became a memory play, as if he were in the car dying, and you were seeing his life pass before him. Yes? So again, you can use a style to inform the play, to help tell the play, that sort of thing. Yes? Again, we're going to use the drawing that's in the middle there, the expressionistic version. I'll pass out a ground plan next time so that we can start designing the lights around it. Just a couple things about Arthur Miller. Arthur Miller wrote 36 plays. He lived from 1915 to 2005. He also wrote 8 movies. He won 2 Pulitzer Prizes, one for Death of a Salesman in 1949. The play was written in 48, but he won it in 49. And one for a play called The Crucible. Now, you may know The Crucible, maybe not, but The Crucible is about the Salem witch trials. And it is ostensibly about the House on Un-American Activities Committee. There was a man, Joseph McCarthy, who Arthur Miller felt was abusing his power the same way the girls abused their power in The Crucible. And so The Crucible becomes a symbol for the misuse of power by Joseph McCarthy and the House on Un-American Activities Committee by calling everybody communist. In the case of the girls, they were calling them witches. So it's about the Salem witch trial on this base level, but it's sort of referring to the modern time. He was married to Marilyn Monroe. He wrote a couple of movies for her. Her last movie, The Misfits, he wrote with her and Clark Gable in it. Anyway, he's a very well-known actor, a well-known playwright. He grew up in Michigan. I'm going to say this play, Death of a Salesman, has some, I think he's Bernard. I think he is the guy who succeeds, the smart guy that gets out of town. But I don't know that his dad is necessarily Charlie, but I think he knew these people. They're just too spot on for him not to have been very familiar with who these people were. And it might be very interesting to go back and to figure out what it is about his growing up with these people that had that influence on him. There's also a play called All My Sons, which is sort of a rough draft of Death of a Salesman. The names are changed, but it's very similar in the sense that they're 2 brothers who have their father that they're having issues with. Slightly different story, but you can see that it's something that he's working with in his life, working through. All right, so one of the things we're going to do, again, I'll give you the ground plan. I may show you an example here. I think I'll give it to Cody so you can put it on there. So you can start thinking about where your areas are going to go for the ground plan, how many areas you're going to have. If you get more than 9, you're getting too many areas. Yes. If you have less than 4, you don't have enough areas. Yes. But for instance, when he's planting the seeds outside, you need some sort of areas outside. When he's in the kitchen by himself, it seems to be the kitchen needs an area, the bedrooms need areas. And so just sort of start figuring out where the areas are. We'll talk about how to light the areas next time. But for this time, just sort of go ahead and start figuring out, and again, making a list of what moods you think there are, day, night, happy, sad, dream, reality, whatever the list is. Different practicals you're thinking about using. And different specials you think you might need. Like if you're going to use the gobo window for the bedroom, that is the hotel. If you're not going to use that, then that's fine. You don't have to. But just sort of make your list of the things you want to include in your plot. Again, we're not doing the plot this time. We're just talking about thinking about doing the plot. Yes. And so creating that list is a very good thing to start doing. And again, I'll go ahead and give you a shot of the ground plan so you start looking at it. Well, real quick, just since we're talking about it. The ground plan, again, you start, the table is down the center. You've got 3 chairs at the table. There are 4 drawn, but there's only going to be 3 yet because we cut one of them. You see that there's a little shelf unit just to the right, stage right, upstage right of that table. You see the refrigerator. There's a door beside the refrigerator that goes into the basement that's hard to see. It's underneath the level. Then there's a step up, upstage right to the bedroom that is the double bed that becomes the bed for Linda and Willie, but also the bed that they're going to use for the woman and Willie in the hotel room. You can see that stage right of that. There's 2 doors in that bedroom. They're both, when it's Willie's bedroom, they're closet doors. When it's the hotel bedroom, the one that is stage right becomes the front door to the room, and the stage left one, the up center one, becomes the door to the bathroom. Yes. There's a little table, a little bureau there for them to sit at, to put on makeup and that sort of stuff as well. Then up the stairs, there's 2 single beds where the boys' room is, and there's a fake little window unit up center. Then you can see there's a little bureau there, a little dresser drawer that sort of hides their exit down the staircase, because the boys have to be able to get from the staircase down the stairs to playing football in that one scene, so that's there. And then there's a little screen door, stage left, that you come into the kitchen. Yes? So there's the aspects of the ground plan. Cool? And again, just between now and the time we start doing the plot, just again, start thinking about where you think the different areas should go, could go. Cool? All right, we'll see you next time.